Hi, I'm coming to you from Niagara Falls, Ontario. A couple of years ago when I was doing talk radio over in Vancouver, British Columbia, a past guest of mine, Stan Norrid, introduced me to the subject of industrialized hemp. It was Stan who talked about how to strengthen concrete by 6 times, the benefits of hemp paper, and the list goes on and on. I mean, this subject is massive. So as the years went on, I put it to the back of my mind. A couple months ago, my wife and I were at a health show here in Niagara Falls, and we ran into Nicole from Earthly Apparel and Accessories. And what happens is Nicole today is going to be talking briefly about what she's aware of within the industrialized hemp. With that said, Nicole, first thing I want to ask you about, a friend of ours, she's allergic to perfumes and other products which have petroleum based in it. You know, when we put hemp in it instead, first of all, what is causing her to get that sick, if you don't mind saying quickly?
I can say anecdotally that, because I'm not a scientist, but from all I understand of being in this industry and I'm reading up on the harmful effects of chemicals, there are certain chemicals that are in the products that we use that are causing this sensitivity. So you can imagine if you've had years and years of exposure to, say, sulfates, sodium lauryl sulfate, formaldehyde, other things like that, there will be an effect on your body after a while, and we're all starting to see that now in people like your friend. There are people who've come into my store who are customers. I try to remain loyal to the fact that they can't handle scents anymore. That's another issue with people. Scents are what makes them sick, and it gives them instant headaches, dizziness, nausea, things like that. And it's because there's things, for instance, in perfumes, there's formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is used, as you'll recall, in biology class from school, that the frogs that you experimented on and the little things, that was a preservative used to preserve biological matter so that you could experiment. And so they use it as a preservative in perfumes, as a stabilizer kind of thing. So, and I think some are catching on and starting to not use it, but it's very hard to find, and you have to be really, really vigilant, hyper-vigilant about your ingredient label reading. And even then, you run into an issue with the local governments there of that country and their requirements for labeling. That's a whole other issue in regards to chemicals and their derivatives that are contained in some of the everyday products we use, personal care products, household cleaning products, things like that we're exposed to on a daily basis. So what I'm saying is the governments, they regulate what's allowed on the labels, what's required to be on labels. Now, I've discovered after reading up some on this topic that there are some chemicals that are harmful that they're not required by law to list. And that can be scary. I mean, I don't want to scare people, but the truth of the matter is we need to know what we're ingesting here. And we have to understand that a lot of the sicknesses we're encountering now and the sensitivities to chemicals and that are due to overexposure.
And you also have personal care products that actually have hemp base, which are Canadian made at the same time. Can you talk briefly about the benefits of going to that type of product?
Well, it's immense. Where do I start? Producing those products. This particular line, it's the only one I carry in my store because it's the only one I trust for quality, and I know that they list every single last ingredient they use in there, and it's all there's no synthetics, there's no cruelty, it's cruelty free, so not tested on any animals, recyclable packaging, Canadian made, what can I say? And where it starts, the benefits of using this stuff is, well, they noticed that hemp seed oil is great for people with sensitivities. They can handle it. It's a natural plant like anything else like that. And it's moisturizing. It doesn't do things to you like other chemical derivatives will do. They can cause neurological damage. They can cause endocrine disruption. So your endocrine system, your hormones, can be disrupted by certain things that are contained in the products that we use every day. And people just don't know that. And they should. So the benefits to going back on that, is to using these products that have the hemp seed oil or are better in case, they don't use chemical derivatives or synthetics. is that, first off, you're treating the planet better when you're not using that stuff. Because remember, when you use something, it goes down the drain sometimes, and it's going back into our water and air systems, right?
We're going to take a brief break. We're back with Nicole from Earthly Apparels and Accessories, and we're going to continue on. Nicole, what I wanted to talk about now is what is the environmental footprint? Let's start with hemp T-shirts, hemp clothing. If we could start with that, what kind of footprint does it leave in the environment by production and also growing it?
Okay, so starting with growing the plant, to put it simply, it requires little to no irrigation, whereas cotton requires, we want to compare it to cotton, requires gallons and gallons of water. It's one of the thirstiest plants on the planet. And then you have, once it leaves the field, you have the plant's fibers that you need to create the fabric, the textile. And in creating the textile, the hemp doesn't require the toxins that cotton does. And meanwhile, there's people in the poorer countries where these things are being produced that are being exposed to these toxins. So you could safely say that hemp is a more renewable resource. First of all, it grows faster. It grows way faster. And it fell out of use. That's the problem. We need to bring it back into use, because look at what cotton does to people in the planet. It's not just the planet where it uses a lot of water, it uses a lot of toxins. We haven't even made the shirt yet or dyed the shirt yet, and there's tons of poisonous gases, off-gassing that happens from the toxins that are used to make them. And so these employees in these other countries are exposed to this. So the cost of that $5 T-shirt is way more than people actually realize. And it's not cheap anymore. It's costing us.
What about the hemp plant? Some people have suggested that hemp, plant itself, puts the minerals and nutrients back into the soil. You can plant it in an arid area, and it sort of revitalizes the soil. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that's a good thing. It's part of it being a renewable resource. It doesn't damage the soil. It doesn't. We don't have soil erosion problems because there's less irrigation. It's a great plant overall. It's versatile for for many reasons. People should be using it more in their lives, and it's not just clothing. It's going to be a biofuel. It's used in construction because of its tensile strength that rivals that of steel. Same with bamboo, actually. They're both very similar that way. And it would be cheaper in the long run to produce, just because of the very nature of the fact that it doesn't require as much irrigation, if at all, and it grows fast, and it reproduces fast. And there's a common misconception, and I'm going to touch on this now. It's not like it's marijuana, THC-ridden cousin. It's not. It's got like 0.0 negligible amount of THC in it. You might as well smoke oregano. And you can't grow them side by side. People think you have a hemp field, well, they can hide some marijuana plants in there. But you know what will happen is that one's a female, one's a male plant, basically. That's the difference. And the female plant, which is the hemp, industrial hemp, will take over. So you won't even have, marijuana?
So, that's how they could eradicate fields of, let's say, marijuana. This alleged war on drugs is just plant hemp everywhere, and it destroys the fields of marijuana. They could do that. Provides
us with another renewable resource that we can use in many different ways. It would save us.
And, also what I want to ask is, hemp itself, you pointed out 2 great books to read. Can you quickly talk about both of the books? Just give us a quick synopsis on both books and how you came to read both of them.
Well, both of these are more in the environmental vein in general. First of all, The Story of Stuff by Annie Leonard. She's an incredible incredible researcher and person with a lot of credibility, because she's educated in environmental science. And she's got a lot of experience with environmental issues. And so she has a film and a book called The Story of Stuff. You can even go to her website and check it out. She talks about, basically it says here, our obsession with stuff would she say, trashing the planet, our communities, and our health, and a vision for change. So what she's saying in this book is essentially, I'm not going to just throw the problems at you and make you cry and scare you. What I'm going to do is show you what the problems are, and we'll talk about it, and then I'll say to you, these are the solutions we can come up with together as people on the same planet. We're not, environmental issues are not divisive by countries. Let's learn that now. We all breathe the same air and drink the same water. It has nothing to do with countries and politics. We really have to learn to separate the two. So, that being said, she talks about, doesn't just throw problems at us. She talks about solutions, and she talks about the improvements that have been made in these areas. That she talks about different areas, from like production to consumption to like all the different. So if I go in here and I look at the different stages: extraction, production, distribution, consumption, and then disposal. So taking, like, say, extraction. Well, I learned a lot about different things that we've used over the years, like gold. Gold. I don't know if some of the countries still use this method, but they extract the gold from the actual natural state using cyanide. And some of that cyanide pours into the groundwater systems in the countries that they're extracting it, and that's a problem. And there's another one that she talks about where we have open pit mines and stuff like that. That's huge. You're leaving a big gash in the earth, like in the middle of different communities, and people are suffering. And the people that benefit are the big diamond companies and the big gold companies, not the people living in those communities where that mine is located.
Even over in tar sands over in Alberta itself.
Yeah, things like that, yes. So it's a really good book, good read. And then we go down to, as a retailer, I need to keep myself educated. I feel strongly about that. And so I can share that information with my customers if need be. So reading up on any organic, we talked about that earlier, organic skincare, things like that. The word organic has been overused, let's be honest here. It's become a marketing term. And we have to, I try to step away from that. I don't use the word a whole lot when I'm talking to people, but if it helps them to understand what I carry, it's a catch-all term, right? For things like, I carry organic clothes. Well, okay, organic. Well, the dictionary means, you and I are organic, so what does that really mean to us? So, like I'm saying, is we get away from that, but people understand it as being not using pesticides or chemicals and stuff like that. So I only carry like one major line of skincare products, and they're made in Canada, and they're made with hemp seed oil, and they're not harmful. There's no synthetics in them. And I learned a lot by reading this book about all the different, it's called Green Beauty, and also they offer recipes you can do at home for your own use. Barring that, the convenience version is in my store. So these guys out in Tofino make a really superior product, and I'm glad and proud to carry it because they list every single ingredient. And like I said earlier, certain governments tell you have to have these certain ingredients listed on them, but they don't cover all the bad ingredients that are out there that are in these products that claim to be natural.
And also, you're going to be, there's a local magazine that's going to be doing an article on you. Yeah. Can you quickly talk about that?
Well, I think it's called Today Magazine, and it's a Niagara region magazine, and it's phenomenal quality. I mean, they're top notch. It's a great glossy piece and something that's needed out this way, so people can see that Niagara region is more than touristy and more than, there's a lot to be said about the local business. They cover a lot of local businesses in here, including mine. So in the January issue will be, hopefully, that's when the article will come out.
And you're going to be going from a storefront over to online, and you have a blog at the same time. Quickly, can you give your website and also your blog address too?
Yeah. Well, actually, you can get to my blog from my website, so it's www.earthlyapparel.ca.
And what is the main message that you want to educate people about hemp and the benefits of it to the environment plus society?
That's a long one. What do you say? Well, in order for us to move forward and change this, we all need to be shown what's really happening here. People have been touching on it time and again. It's like we've been hitting over the head with it, right? Messages from even politicians, like, remember Al Gore, everybody? Like, he wasn't kidding around. We're in a little bit of a bind here, guys. We have to change how we live, what we eat. It's inherent in how, like, as human beings, we need to change what we're doing. Otherwise, kaboom, people. I mean, animals are dying and not coming back. They're getting extinct for various reasons that, we won't get into now, but we know our planet's suffering. Our planet does replenish itself, but let's not rest on those laurels all the time. We need to take care of Mother Earth because she takes care of us. And that is why, that's why I have my business, because I'm hoping that I'm being part of that fashion industry revolution that says, let's wear these organic products, these fabrics, because they're better on the environment and better for us as human beings because there's no chemicals used in them, things like that. We're starting to slowly see a change coming, but it's slow, right? And it's going to take some time, but I love being part of that wave, and I really, I think my favorite quote, you're going to love this, I took my stepdaughter who's 6 and who understands environment stuff. I don't even have to, she just got it right away from seeing this film. We went to see Dr. Seuss's The Lorax. We love that. And the quote that was in there was it put it plainly for me. I love it. It's, unless someone like you cares a whole lot, nothing will ever change. It will not.
Well, the one question I want to ask you, what do we have to do to educate, let's say, people within the government itself on the benefits of, the bottom line to a lot of people in government is how can they raise more taxes without taxing the people? So how can we point out to the government how economically beneficial that, turning Canada more towards industrialized hemp, how could we go about doing that?
Send a sample of these books and a sample of hemp products to all the politicians and get them to realize how good it really is. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, that's how, people in retail get people to try things. We sample them. So I don't know. That's a big question, and it couldn't be answered in one day. It's like, if you think back to how long ago all this started, hemp was in use thousands of years ago, and how did we ever lose sight of it? I don't, can we pinpoint one person or one government that just, contributed to its downfall? I don't know, but it needs to come back. And I don't know how that's going to happen. I guess the main thing here and the key to all of this is education. And that brings me to an interesting point, actually. My blog is on my website, and I decided to rename it thanks to some, humorous customers of mine that have come through over the last year. And the main comment has always been to me, "Oh, can I smoke that shirt? Ha, ha, ha." And I'm like, okay. I say, you can do whatever you want once you buy my shirt. But, at the same time, as funny as that is at the surface, underneath that is a need for education. I can see that there's still that big misconception out there. So we need to educate the politicians further, educate the masses, and they'll influence the politicians, right? So it comes like there's this line of influence that we have to get in on and keep doing it and doing it. I mean, you can see there are groups out there that are active and they're quite cool. They do this every year in the States called Hemp. It's just Hemp Week, they call it. It's every June. And they're trying to raise awareness, and slowly I can see that they're getting their politicians on board with changing their attitudes towards industrialized hemp, because industrial hemp is not a drug. They should need to tell their DEA that, and fast.
And the final question I want to ask you, who influenced you in your own life to get involved and want to make the change in this world?
I don't think it was any one person. I think throughout my whole life there have been messages given to me through different people and through different circumstances. It could be, back in high school I did a fashion show that benefited Environment Group. I don't know if they're around anymore, Friends of the Earth. I don't know if you heard of them. We benefited, it was the 80s, and we were doing that. I was a kid, I was a teenager, and that one might have started from there. It was thanks to the influence of a teacher. Teachers are very important. Education and all of this is very important. So yeah, that's what happened to me. And years later, I've always had a passion for the West Coast, and I always wanted to live there. And so I got my chance, and I went. And that's where the influence really became stronger for me. And I hope one day I would love to see a world where organic isn't an option, it just is. Where we live and say, yeah, that's made of hemp, so what? That's great, isn't it? Instead of saying, good Lord, hemp, can you smoke that? No. No, it's not the same thing. And they need to know that. And it's surprising to me all the time that a lot of people aren't aware, and we need to get on that bandwagon together as retailers, as educators, as filmmakers, as writers and political influencers and activists. Get on board together and educate the public once again, because it is cyclical. There was a time probably back in the 60s where everyone was fully aware of hemp and its uses, and then it's got a hippie image. It needs to shake it. It needs to get rid of that, and if we threw in some social media marketing there, hemp would be well on its way. And look at Facebook. Influenced the Obama campaign. Surely it could influence hemp.
Well, thank you so much for your time. And, finally, what I want to do, again, quickly leave your website if you can, so that way people can check it out. Because I know you're going online now via storefront.
Feel free to email me and if you have questions, or at Nicole@earthlyapparel.ca. And, for now, you can go on my website at earthlyapparel.ca.
Thank you so much for your time.